Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I'll be sharing how I recreated this skirt for these two princesses aged 5 and 3 using two 1/4 yards of Ankara print and 3.5 yards of tulle. I'll leave my final measurement for these two skirts in the description and in the tutorial as well. So do make sure to watch the whole tutorial to see how I was able to make these two skirts using this amount of fabric. Do not forget to like and share the video, and without further ado, let's get right into the tutorial. For this tutorial, I used two 1/4 yards of Ankara print and 3.5 yards of tulle by 62 inches in width. Now the sewing of these two skirts are the same, the only difference is in the measurement, which I'll leave in the description. I've gone ahead and cut out all that I'll be needing. So I have my elastic, I have the Ankara for the skirt, I have the strip for the waistband, the Ankara strip for the tulle, and then the tulle. My fabric here is on fold, and this is for the baby of 5 years old. So I have it on fold at 33.5 inches. Multiplied by 2 will give me the total length of the fabric, which will be 67 inches, and this includes 1 inch for seam allowance. Then the width of the fabric measured 15 inches, and this includes the width of the waistband plus 1 inch seam allowance, ½ inch to hem the skirt and ½ inch to attach the waistband. For the 3 years old, I have my fabric here on fold at 30.5 inches. So the full circumference will be 30.5 multiplied by 2, which will give us 61 inches, and this includes 1 inch for seam allowance. The width measured 14 inches, and this includes seam allowance as well. I made some changes on the length of the inner skirt of the 5 years old and the width of the waistband of the 3 years old, so please make sure to watch the whole tutorial. From the tip of the fabric, I'll go down 2.5 inches for the width of the waistband. This includes ½ inch seam allowance to attach the strip of the waistband. I'm taking this marking on the right side of the fabric and I'll connect with a straight line. This method works, but the downside is that it will make the waistline of your skirt very bulky when you insert the elastic. So all you need to do is to minus the width of your waistband from your inner skirt if you don't want your waistline looking like this, except where you don't mind. I later changed mine, which you will see as we proceed in the tutorial. On this line now, which is my waistline, is where I will attach my tulle. So it's the same if the waistband of the skirt is cut separately, you attach the tulle on the waistline. So I'm going to show you how to calculate the length of tulle. I will be illustrating with this one right here for a better understanding. You can see here that the tulle is cut all the way to the hem of the skirt, but on the inspiration photo, the hem of the skirt is completely Ankara and is cut on fold. So this factor will determine the length of your tulle. It's either you cut your tulle all the way to the hem of the skirt, like in my case, or you make the hem of your skirt completely Ankara, like in the inspiration photo. If you're cutting your tulle all the way to the hem of your skirt, like in my case, because I'm managing the fabric, all you need to do is to minus the width of your waistband from the full length of your skirt, then you add your seam allowance. The full length of my skirt is 25 inches, minus 2 inches the width of my waistband, that leaves me with the 23 inches, plus 1 inch seam allowance, ½ inch to attach the waistband and ½ inch to attach the Ankara strip to the tulle, and this leaves me with 24 inches. So the length of tulle for this skirt will be 24 inches. If the hem of your skirt is going to be completely Ankara like in the inspiration photo, all you need to do is to minus the width of your waistband and the width of the Ankara strip from the full length of your skirt plus seam allowance. So the full length of my skirt is 25 inches minus 2 inches the width of my waistband minus 3.5 inches the width of my Ankara strip. This leaves me with 19.5 inches plus 1 inch for seam allowance. This leaves me with 20.5 inches. So the full length of tulle for this particular method will be 20.5 inches. So whichever way you choose to go, this is how to calculate the length of your tulle. I've gone ahead and cut out my tulle, and you can see that mine measured 24 inches because my tulle is cut all the way to the hem of my skirt. Then the length measured 1 yard and 27 inches, and my tulle is on fold here. So multiply this measurement by 2, that will give you 3.5 yards. For the 3 years old, the width of tulle measured 19 inches, and this includes 1 inch for seam allowance, and the length of tulle measured 1 yard and 18 inches, that's 1.5 yards, multiplied by 2 because my tulle is on fold, and that gives 3 yards of tulle. The total length of fabric here measured 67 inches and the width measured 15 inches. I've already given these measurements earlier in the tutorial, and this is for the 5 years old. I'll go ahead and run basting stitches on the tulle and gather it to the length of this fabric. I have gathered the tulle to the length of the fabric. I'll go ahead and pin it in place on this line, which is my waistline, and attach with a straight stitch, leaving both ends of the tulle open. I have pinned the tulle in place on the waistline. Remember, I first gathered the tulle to the length of the fabric. I'll go ahead and attach with a straight stitch. Once that is done, I'll go ahead and stitch close the center back of the skirt and that of the tulle and attach both pieces together on the waistline. So guys, I've attached the tulle to the skirt, and here I'm just pinning away the tulle that I left open at both ends of the skirt to enable me stitch close the center back of the skirt. So I'll take that to my sewing machine and attach with a straight stitch and overlock the raw edges. Once that is done, I'll do the same on the tulle, and I'll be sewing using a French seam. I will attach first on the right side of the tulle. Trim down the seam allowance to 1 millimeter away from the stitch line, and this is what yours should look like. Then turn the tulle to the wrong side and push it to the edge of the stitch line and attach with a straight stitch. This will give you a clean finish in and out of the tulle. I'll go ahead and secure the two pieces on the waistline using a straight stitch. This is what my skirt is looking like so far. I'll go ahead and hem the skirt and then attach the Ankara strip. So with the right side of the Ankara strip to the wrong side of the tulle, I'll pin it in place and attach with a straight stitch. Once that is done, I'll trim down the seam allowance very close to the stitch line. Then turn it to the right side of the skirt, pin the strip in place and run my top stitch. I have attached the strip on the tulle and have used my iron to properly pin it in place. I'll run my stitches later. So I measured the inner skirt on the kid and I found it a little short. So I'm going to loosen the tulle and attach it from the beginning of the fabric. That means I'll be cutting the waistband separately. This will add an additional 2 inches to the length of the inner skirt. If you check the length of the inner skirt of the 3 years old, it measured 13 inches, while that of the 5 years old is already 13 inches and I've not attached the waistband yet. So if I lose the tulle and attach it from the beginning of the fabric, the length will be around 15.5 or 16 inches. Another thing I will change is the waistband. You can see on this one that the waistband is bulky, and it's because the waistband was cut together with the skirt. So I'll correct that with this one. So after attaching the two on the seam allowance line of the new waistline, I will run a basting stitch on the seam allowance on the Ankara fabric only, without the two, and gather it so as to reduce the waist circumference of the skirt. I'll go ahead and run a basting stitch on the Ankara fabric about 0.25 inch before my half-inch seam allowance line. The half-inch seam allowance line is where I will attach the tulle. I'll run these stitches before attaching the tulle so that I can easily gather the Ankara afterwards, and I'll make the same change on this one. So guys, I've attached the tulle and gathered the waistline of the Ankara. The waist circumference of my client is 26 inches and I gathered it to 37.5 inches. So you can add an extra 10 to 11 inches to the original waist circumference of your client and gather. I have also prepared the waistband I used a cotton fabric for the inner waistband to make up for the shortage of fabric, and I have here 40 inches. I'll go ahead and pin the waistband in place with the right side of the black fabric to the wrong side of the skirt, and I'll top stitch it close with the Ankara on the right side of the skirt. I will also run a top stitch on the Ankara strip to secure it to the tulle. I have attached the waistband and this is what I have. I left this place open for my elastic. So my waist circumference here measured 19 inches, which will be 38 inches in total. That means I added an extra 12 inches to the 26 inches my original waist circumference. The waist circumference I'm working with is 26 inches, so I minus 1 inch from it for the length of elastic that I used. So the length of elastic here measured 25 inches. I will go ahead and insert the elastic on the waistband, stitch close that opening, and that's practically all there is to this skirt. Another thing I did to jazz up the skirt a little, and this is optional, was to run stitches on the waistband of the skirt. Then I made ribbons with the Ankara fabric and attached it on the center front of the skirt. I went ahead and changed the waistband on the 3-year-old skirt. Remember, the length of Ankara after sewing is 60 inches and I have it here on fold at 30 inches. I have run the basting stitches and gathered it, and I ran the stitches on 0.25 inch before the half-inch seam line, which is where I attached the tulle. So I gathered it to 15 inches on fold here. That will be 30 inches full waist circumference. So I'll go ahead and trim it down to half-inch seam allowance to enable me attach the waistband. So guys, I've done all that I said. I've trimmed off the excess. I've also prepared the waistband. Because of these changes, the width of the waistband became 1.5 inches after sewing, which was perfect. I'll go ahead and attach it inside the elastic and I'll show us the final look. Do not forget to like and share this video if you enjoyed it. Leave all your questions in the comment section. Do not forget to subscribe to the channel and I'll see you guys in my next one. A bientôt!